Right. So, like recently, I don't know whether you've heard lah, but it seems like there's quite a number of deaths that has occurred recently.
To young people.
Yeah, to young people, like from either accidents or like sickness. And like, I don't know about you, but when I think about death, and especially when it happened to a young person, either younger than you or is same age as you even, I don't know, it kind of stops you in your tracks a little bit, because like, you'll be like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like, usually what's your reaction when you think of these things?
I'm not ready.
So,
Yeah, it's
like directly,
it can happen to anyone regardless of age, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I guess to a certain extent, like for me, especially when it comes to like the death of a young mom or young dad, the first thing I think about, because I guess as parents, right, the first thing you would think about is the kids. Like, how are the kids? It's not so much about like who's going to take care of the kids now, how are they going to thrive, because like, you know for sure, everything that's happened happens for a reason. It's all been written. Everything is part of their destiny, right? Be it the one who passed and be it the one who experiences the passing of that person, right? But it's more of like, at that moment in time, like, how do they feel? You know, like,
What will they go through and how
what's going through in their
they
heads?
tide over it now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like recently, with regards to the passing of this particular person, who's quite a known figure in our industry, in our
Media industry.
I found out that he was about to get married. And I just, wow.
He was counting down to the
Yes, I think he was in his 20s, I think, right? And he was really counting down. They were counting down. I also saw the fiance. So I don't know, like, we are at this age, right, where we're taking a day at a time, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after. But sometimes do you feel like we take death for granted? Like, it's so ironic, like how death is part of life. We know there is a beginning and there's an end. But when it comes to the end, there's always different ways that people try to like escape.
Oh,
Macam escape from thinking about it. Don't think about it lah. We're still young. Or don't think about it lah. Live. Because of that, you should live your life. YOLO. YOLO. You do everything. Do everything.
Live once, is it?
You only live once, right? So you do everything.
Yeah.
But the concept or like the grasping of what death actually is and the impact it has on your environment, like I feel like we take that. We don't really put much focus into that. What do you think?
So when someone around you pass on or you hear the death, the news of a death, right? It reminds you of death, as in your own death, right? And then you get scared. Like I get scared, and then after that, it would be like orang kata tu terkesan, right? Terkesan for a period of time. And I think what you're trying to say is that then after that, as you get into the daily activities of life, then you forget,
right?
And then it comes back again.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to. I mean, not that you're supposed to be reminded, but you get reminded of it again. Right. So there must be some reason why you're always being reminded, right? And I feel that the reason why it's happening is because really God wants to remind us of the ending, like and the scary part is the ending can happen anytime, like you don't know when, right? Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you think too much of death, like all on a regular basis, let's just say,
It's very
a bit morbid lah.
Yeah.
Like how do you live like that, right? I mean, we are even told like you're not supposed to always look at it in that manner either. But I guess it's sort of like His mercy as well, because we're also told to just like move on, and we need to live our lives the best way possible, right? In that sense. But like this sudden curveball,
Okay.
Suddenly, if someone passes, your friends, family members, or whatever, like it forces you to come back down to earth, come back.
Yeah. Okay.
And then after that you're like flying back up, whatever lah, climbing the ladder of success or whatever, be it work, be it social life or whatever. And then another curveball. Okay, come back down. So almost like His mercy, like for us to always remember and remind ourselves.
Yeah. I'm now reminded of I do know of people who are always in constant remembrance of death, but they don't do it in a manner where it's depressing. You can sense that they it's not depressing for them. The thought of death is really like the goal in their life is somewhat like death, because they know that they're going to die. So everything they do is actually in preparation of
For
death.
death, yeah.
And they are like going through it happily.
Yeah.
So that's like another level to
Yeah,
me.
just like, I think that is really like another kind of enlightenment now.
Yeah.
Because like I think you've completely okayed yourself lah. Like you basically you dah okay tau dengan concept of death tu.
Yeah.
Sampaikan you know like it's gonna happen. So I'm not gonna think about when it happens, because like for you to accept like the knowledge that death is like you cannot run from it. It's gonna happen, and then be okay with it and still live life in a manner where, like you said lah, the objective now is shifted, because everything you do. But that also brings you, I mean, as morbid as it sounds, like macam like you mean you live life just looking forward to death, right?
Yeah.
Living knowing the end is near all the time also then reflects on how you live, right?
How you live your life,
right?
Yeah.
And then you don't take things for granted anymore. You don't take people for granted anymore. You tell yourself to not allow people to affect you anymore. I think one of the other important things that we should always consider and think about is the legacy that we want to leave behind. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, do you think about those things?
Yes, like because I have friends who are business owners, I have friends who are like academics, right? So I feel that the legacy that they're leaving behind, if it's not through a business, it's through like, you know, their work, the books they publish, the number of people they have touched base on, the number of people they have groomed to be doctors, lawyers and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. For me, right, the experience I have is when my father-in-law passed away, prior to his passing, right, I've always known that he holds his friendships to a certain standard. Like he's like the go-to. Like you know that you can entrust him. And like he how to say, like the way he behaves with his friends or the way he is with his friends, he will go above and beyond for you if you really need his help and everything. And we always found that very interesting. Like macam, wow, yeah, really will go above and beyond. But he doesn't portray that anyway. Like he doesn't show it off, or he doesn't
have social
he
media.
doesn't even have social media in that sense. I mean, he has social media, but he doesn't do like, oh, here I am with this person or that person. Never.
Yeah.
But upon his like return to Allah, right, you see it in the masses. You see the friends that come, people you don't know, you've never seen before, but somehow have been impacted by his existence. And you cannot help but fight it until now. Up till now, it's been years has passed. But up till now, I still get people saying, oh, I know your father-in-law. I know your father-in-law. He's this person. He's such a this person. He's such a that person. And you cannot help but feel like, oh my gosh, mashallah. Like for you to be remembered that way.
Yeah.
Isn't that like amazing?
Amazing.
Yeah. Like, but for you, what kind of legacy or how would you like to be remembered?
Honestly, I haven't really thought about it. Yeah, I don't know. But maybe being a realtor now, then, you know, it would be really having been very honest and sincere realtor. That's as a realtor lah. As a mother, I would want to be that role model for my daughter to be an even better mother. You know, because she's always saying that, Mommy, I want to be like you. I want to be like Nenek Rose. Like, you know, she adores my mother, right? So I feel like, okay, there's alhamdulillah to know for her to express like that. But we would want them to be better, right? So that they can bring up better future generations.
True.
Yeah.
I think I can totally relate with you on that.
Yeah.
Like, especially like with having children, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that as a mother, I want them to remember that love is bigger than we humans can understand.
Yeah.
That
Anyway, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Talking about like, you know, children and how they react to deaths. I'm always very impacted when my daughter keep on asking me, like, you know, she once asked me, Mommy, will you still remember me when you pass on? After you die, right? Will you still think about me? I'm like, I mean, when we die, we don't know what we will be going through, right?
That's true.
So I just had to go like, yeah, of course I'll be thinking about you, right? Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's...
Have you, talking about that lah, macam you say like, I mean, after death, obviously we have no idea what state we will be in, right?
Yeah.
But also, have you ever thought about like that part before you cross the line? Like macam the moment before you cross,
Yeah.
you know, before everything, I mean, the whole thing lah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had this experience, right? One of my good friends, her mom passed away. And she, before her passing, she was in that state lah. She was in that state of neither here, neither there, nor there, right? But all I can remember is, I mean, so we always wonder, like, what goes through your mind, right? And then I guess depending on your context or everything, you will probably behave in a manner that that is closest to how you're feeling at that very moment, right?
As in, you're talking about like right before your deathbed.
Yeah. So
okay.
no, not right before, like apa dia macam tengah ni lah, tengah nazak. Macam in that moment
Yeah.
tu lah, macam what is that? Like what is that feeling? Because I had the honor of I would say honor, but I had the blessing of being able to watch my best friend, one of my best friends' mom pass away. I mean, she was in that moment, and I was in amazement at what I heard or what I saw, because during that time, right? Because again, like you would wonder what's happening. Because I believe your behavior would be based on probably the last thing that you're feeling or like what is impacting you most. So let's just say if you, this is my theory lah. Let's just say if you were to be in a situation where you are tengah nazak and then like you are in a state of like I don't know, macam like happiness or like macam you macam tenang, you tenang.
Okay.
So everything will be tenang. Or like if let's just say if you're in a state of you're thinking about work or like there's, oh my God, I don't know how or if anybody actually dies thinking of work lah. But you would probably react accordingly. I'm not sure lah.
Like when you're sick.
Yeah, when you're
in
sick,
the ICU, it's different.
like macam you know,
Right.
if you are facing a disease or like macam you are really in that state of like this, I won't say zen, but you know, sometimes when you're in a terminal illness, they will give you things to make you calm down. You know,
So you're asking like, what do you think is going through in the person's mind?
Like mine lah.
So I guess it's very situational, right?
Yeah.
It depends on whether the person is battling a sickness or like you mentioned in a state of happiness or calmness. Yeah, like I just saw a YouTube video, I think, a few days ago. This Ustaz was actually teaching and then suddenly he had like pain in the heart. And then he passed on. Yeah, he passed on.
Yeah.
And another one was when the Imam was like doing his sujood.
Oh yeah.
Right, and then suddenly he collapsed.
Passed on.
Yeah, so that's why I think we learned that we need to pray very hard that, you know, our last breath, may it happen in a state of iman.
Yeah.
Right, and in a state of where, you know, even the people around us, right, are actually supporting us and helping us to remember Allah and
Yeah. There's that, right? So like with my friend, why it was amazing to me was because when the mother was in that state, all she talked about was her children. The only thing that she said was, "Are you okay if I left? Are you all okay? Are you all going to be okay? Have you all sorted it out? Like I need to leave." But will you be able to take care of yourself?
Oh, that's like another level.
That's why.
That means
I
she's
was
already
so,
prepared.
Yeah. I mean, she was sick. She had terminal illness.
Yeah.
But I was also like, wow. Like macam the only thing she didn't even ask about herself. There wasn't even alamak, what am I going to do? Oh my goodness, I'm so scared. Or nothing. That's why I say it depends on context. Like, it depends on what that person is probably feeling at that very moment.
Yeah.
So probably for her, she's always thinking about my children. Are they going to be okay? You know, in that sense.
I know.
And up till like 2 days, I mean, she was like that for a bit. And then I heard the next day, she was, you know, sometimes like towards the end, you suddenly get this burst of energy. They say, suddenly you are okay, right? And in that state, she was with her family members and they baca Quran together. Like macam nothing tau. And then the next day she passed on.
Actually, for me, my late grandmother, when she passed on, I didn't witness it, but my sister did. And my sister was impacted in a manner where now whenever she goes to Tan Tock Seng Hospital, she doesn't like the feeling because it's related to
It's like a trauma thing, is it?
For my late grandfather, I was the last person he was looking for. Yeah, and I was like in a cab. And I was very young. I think in JC, I was 18. Yeah, so I mean, now that you mentioned about family, right? So it's triggering all this. And then there is this like distant nene, you know, when the Arato passed away. This nene was in like full calmness. And I was like looking around and she wasn't crying at all. She wasn't crying, you know, and they are very close. They are very close and you know that they are like the most loving couple. Datuk passed on, I think, when he was in his 70s. Yeah, and the nenek also. So the nenek was just looking at the mayat and just no tears, So I turned to her grandson and asked, hey, this is the first time I'm witnessing like the wife not crying.
Yeah.
So the grandson was saying that, it's really another level of iman and that readiness and willingness to see the husband pass on. I don't think I can ever do that, see, like
True.
not reacting at all. Like
To the death of your...
yeah, and shortly after she passed
away,
on
right?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew that you were going to say something like that.
Correct. And I realized,
Yeah.
I don't know, I realized that like when a couple like
There's
like,
so many,
super
right?
yeah, they really passed on.
But
like,
do you
yeah.
do that? Like, which me and Helmi, we have this thing where, like, if I think maybe we're just clingy in nature, or we're like, if the best to us, a death
to
that
pass
would
on
be the
together,
best would be to pass on together,
Yeah.
and even like to the point, oh my goodness, you're crying. Why is this something that you
No,
want to say?
I mean it's like,
Oh, your turn. What happened? Like, macam, is this something that really impacted you?
the no, as in like you pass on with your loved one.
Yeah. Like I was telling you, like, okay, one of the reasons, okay, as morbid as it sounds.
No, because like how the Prophet passed on and then I mean the Sayyidatina Khadijah passed on and then the Prophet passed on after, and then the daughter passed on after.
Sorry. Actually, he is quite emotional if you think about like two people. Let's just say two people who are very in love with each other, and one of the things that they actually hope for is to die together, right? For example, one of the things that me and me all like we travel, we always say like we don't want to, kalau boleh kita tak nak travel away from our children.
Oh, okay.
Kalau boleh kita sama-sama. So that if anything happens, as morbid as it may sound, if we're gonna die, I hope we die together as a family. And like I said, I don't know whether it comes from a clinginess that we have, but it's something that ironically it's something that I feel so tenang or at ease with. The idea that if we were actually to now you cry, to what? To travel somewhere with your family members. Okay. So how I was flight stewardess before, right?
Yeah.
One of the bigger reasons why I quit was because I cannot stand the idea of if something happened to any of my family members back in Singapore and I'm not there. And I'm not there to see, or I'm not there to experience the last few days or the last few hours or the last few minutes with that person out. And it's like, and it was the biggest thing that drove me to quit flying, because I cannot, and I cannot imagine dying alone in wherever I am, like be it, even to the point where kalau kiamat happens, I don't want to be away from my family. I want to be with them. I want to come, the whole apartment, if they were to come crashing down, I want it to crash down on all of us, for example. And it brings me to like for example, like the thought of like people in Gaza and how they they sleep together.
Yeah.
They say because if anything happens, if there's an extract that happens, they want to die all together as a family. And it's actually not as morbid as it sounds, because it's ideal. It's it's an ideal way of passing, because it's as much as it's also selfish because like if you think about it, you can die with me, mom. We all together can die together. But if it were to happen in that manner, for some reason, like it appeases you about death, like we all together, padahal supposed to separate, say, that kind of thing. But I don't know why there's like this whole like, whenever I die together, and somehow it like makes you feel a little bit better. Because I also have witnessed people who love each other so much, and the husband passes away, like a few days later the wife passes away, or the wife passes away first, and then on the day the wife passes away, he also passes away.
Yeah. But for me, right, those that I witnessed, it's not like, it's not so much of they love each other as in just that kind of love, it's more of like their spiritual connectedness, right, is very strong. Yeah. So that makes me like, it kind of like adds on to the meaning of a heightened meaning of love, like what constitutes love.
It's not the love that we, like I say like prior to this, like if I were to ever leave this earth, one of the things that I would like my children to remember is love is bigger than what they know. It's not just what the society's perception of love is. It's not even the love between parents and a child. It's actually even bigger than that. And this is something that I guess all of us are also trying to understand, we ourselves as human beings, like we're so riddled with sin. I mean, we are so imperfect that we also probably will never understand what it is. But we know that it exists, that there is something bigger, that with death comes sadness, but there is also an immense love now that should come with it. It's just that you probably will only see it much later, or you only will experience it much later, that kind of thing. But can you imagine of course at that moment when like someone like you love is taken away from you, that you won't think of that, what? You'll be like, macam, it's just a lot of mashallah, I miss this person, sayang dia gitu and all that. Tapi in her passing or in his passing though, there's also this amount of relaxation though that would never happen if she didn't pass or he didn't pass.
That is if you really reflect and introspect. Yeah. But I don't know, like I think before this, not until I probably turned 40.
Yeah.
Right. I've never like really thought about it this deeply, right? Yeah. So yeah, we must continue to pray that we are in constant remembrance of, you know, and of death and what comes with it, and you know, what's next for the people who are still around.
I guess the kind of, when back to it being a legacy, right? I guess you can always think about how much the most ideal is the kind of legacy that you leave behind that motivates others to be better or to do better, be it our children, be it our family members. Right? Or even our friends for that matter. For not to be celebrated as like, you know, sometimes people will be like, oh, you know, when she was alive, she was this kind of person. But if how he or she was when she was alive, how it should impact you to be better is the one that should be celebrated. And not how that person lived. But how she lived and how that impacted you now as the living to continue. That should be the one that should be celebrated.
And I think some people call it saham akhirat. Right, like after you pass on, you left
leave
that
behind.
you left that legacy that is like in continuity, right? It's almost like an MLM kind of thing, right? You pass on like knowledge, for instance, you pass on or skill, you pass on to someone and that someone pass on further to more people, right? Wow, we can really talk a lot about this topic on
actually
that.
like it's not as morbid lah. The truth is, I mean, things like this, I think at our age especially, I mean, one of the things that I also have to admit, when I'm younger, wow, you know, there was a saying, I'm like, when you're younger, you really think that you're invincible. Like nothing can stop you, nothing. You don't even think about it. I don't know. So the sad part is, and it's actually sad because now that you grow older, you realize, oh mashallah, how lucky are you that he didn't take away your soul at that very moment.
I feel that it's a good thing that, again, it may sound morbid from one angle, but it's a good thing that, you know, young kids realize that, you know, death is bound to happen. But of course, we have to do it very tactfully with them, right? For them to articulate like the understanding that death will happen, I think it's good because then it's a realization, right? What we realize in our 30s and 40s,
we hope that they will realize much earlier.
Correct. Hopefully it turns out like in a good
way
lah.
So all in all, I guess, you know what? I think the one thing that both of us can agree is that should we ever leave this earth, that we hope that our presence here is as a form of motivation or as a form of, I wouldn't say guidance or how do we guide, but you know what I mean, like for people who are nearest and dearest to us lah. Like for them to go, hey, you know what, if my mom was still alive, she would. And if they find themselves in predicaments, that they would actually think about how we would address the matter, and then they would do it too.
Correct.
I think that will be the best legacy to leave behind.
Start from within our own family unit and our immediate, you know,
Inshallah.
circle. Inshallah.